Welcome to Whova's Event Insider Panel Discussion Series. My name's Marisa, and I'll be your host. Our Event Insider sessions offer great tips and insights from experienced event professionals on various topics in the event management industry. Today, we will be discussing event technology and software with guest speakers Nicole Schroeder, the Marketing Director at Wired Production Group, and Andrew Weiss, the founder of Weiss Wisdom and the Virtual Coordinator of PodFest Expo. If you're interested in viewing more content for event organizers, subscribe to our channel where you can see more interviews with top event professionals and new content on the latest event industry trends. Now let's get into the discussion. My name is Marisa, and I will be the host and moderator for today's panel. This edition of Whova's Event Insider Series will dive into the topic of event technology and software, and we have a great discussion in store for you all. We are going to get started again in just a minute here, but I have a couple more things to cover before we do. First, prior to today's session, we did run 3 pre-session poll questions that many of you responded to. We closed the polls just before this morning's session, so I can go ahead and read over some of those responses for you all. How many different software tools have you used for event management? 6% of respondents chose 0. 56% said between 1 and 3 software tools. 25% said between 4 and 6. 6% said between 7 and 10, and 6% said they've used more than 10 different tools. And then the second question that we asked you all was, are you hoping to try new software tools for your next upcoming event? And for this one, 79% responded yes, and only 21% responded no. And then finally, that last poll question asked, how much did you spend on event software in the past 12 months? For this one, 18% said they spent between $0 and $2,000. 45% said between $2,000 and $5,000. 18% said they spent between $5,000 and $10,000, and 9% said between $10,000 and $30,000, and then 9% said they've spent over $30,000 on event software in the past 12 months. So thank you so much to everyone who shared their thoughts in the polls before today's session. We will be touching on these pre-session poll topics during our discussion today. And as you all know, the main topic that we're going to be focusing on in today's panel is event tech and software. The discussion is going to cover a variety of key topics on the subject. I also want to, before we get started here, remind everyone that we will be reserving the last 10 to 15 minutes of the session for live audience questions. So I just want to encourage all of you to ask the questions you have for our speakers as they come up throughout the session. And you can use that Q&A tab on the right side of your screen to type your questions for our speakers. And then at around quarter till the hour, I'll begin moderating your questions to our guest speakers today. But I also want to make note that there is an option to vote for the questions that you're most interested in. So in addition to asking your own questions, please vote for the questions that you are most curious about so that I can make sure to prioritize those most popular ones. And with those announcements covered, I am excited to introduce our speakers, and then we can go ahead and begin our discussion. So first, I am very excited to welcome Nicole Schroeder to the virtual stage. Nicole is joining us from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where she is the Marketing Director at Wired Production Group. Nicole, we're so happy to have you on the panel today. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Of course. So good morning. I know there's a couple other Midwesterners in the chat, so good morning from the happy Midwest. I am the marketing director, like Marisa said, Wired Production Group. We are a live virtual hybrid event and video production company based out of Cedar Rapids. We go wherever our trucks go. So we are not limited to staying in Iowa. We have a lot of clients across the United States. We work with clients ranging from AV needs for small nonprofit meetings in hotel ballrooms for 50 people to multi-day music festivals with thousands. So we have a pretty wide scope of business, and we have a lot of experience with different events, especially having it been heightened the last couple of years of the pandemic. So I'm excited to share some information today.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. And next we have Andrew Weiss, who is from New York, but joining us today from a European vacation. Andrew is the CEO of Weiss Wisdom and the virtual coordinator of Podfest Expo. Andrew, thanks so much for being here. I'm going to turn the mic to you so you can introduce yourself as well.
Yes, I'll say bonjour because I'm tuning in live from Nice, France. If anyone's ever been there, it's definitely quite wonderful out here and enjoying the sunshine. And a little bit about me is I do operations and marketing consulting for virtual events. 2 of those have broken a Guinness World Record for world's largest virtual podcasting event. And I also provide sales coaching for people to help them make money doing what they're already doing. And so I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Great. I'm excited to have you both here today, and I'm really excited to hear all of the advice that you have to share with our audience. So let's just not wait any longer and get right into our questions for today. So first, I just want to start off with, some common software tools that you all have experience with. So for my first question, what email blast tools have you used for event promotion and things like that? Nicole, do you want to go ahead and start with this one first?
Sure. So a lot of the event technology that we use specifically for hybrid and virtual events, they already have a lot of the email marketing features built in. We also have a lot of clients now that are doing their own email marketing in association with ticketing platforms. So some of our smaller clients that look for more low-cost options that maybe aren't connected to an existing platform, we usually recommend Mailchimp. It's free and or low cost. There's also a couple others that we really like to work with as far as the platforms that have ticketing and just basic email functions. Faqs is a pretty inexpensive option that we use a lot for hybrid events. We really enjoy working with Faqs. Their tech team is awesome as far as questions. And like I said, there's a lot of other platforms out there, obviously including Whova, that have the email marketing right built in. So
great. Thank you, Nicole. And how about you, Andrew?
Yeah, so I'm more or less team Active Campaign, and I do want to make sure that everyone knows that what matters the most when it comes to email marketing is the platform that works best for you, because obviously Nicole could say Mailer or Mailchimp, I could say Active Campaign, someone else will say MailerLite, but just use the tool that works best for you. So that's what I'd say about that. And when we're putting email marketing messages together, we love using Gifs, and so help put some more excitement to each email. And so we love the website Giphy, Giphy, and they provide a lot of free ways to have access to GIFs and moving photos to help capture people's attention. And of course, when it comes to capturing people's attention, we also love Canva, also another free resource to use. And then another thing too is, I don't know about you, but one of my pet peeves is when people spell things wrong. And one of the ways to help with that is by using another free platform called Grammarly. So hopefully everyone in the world knows about Grammarly by now, another free platform. And essentially it's an automatic extension, your Google browser, whatever browser you use, that whenever you type something out, it'll let you know if you did something wrong, either using grammar incorrectly or spelling something wrong. And that like saves the day, because sometimes, Nicole and I are working long hours, long days, and we don't know what we're typing. And then it says, hey, fix this word. We're like, oh, thank you so much. So that's always super helpful. And then of course, we also love using Eventbrite for our events. And Eventbrite has a lot of email marketing campaigns where you can actually do marketing campaigns to anyone who's ever bought from your event ever. So that part's pretty cool. And although it is tricky to use email marketing campaigns to Eventbrite itself, so you have to like really copy and paste stuff, but I'd say that's a good head start for tools and resources to use.
What have both of you used for event websites? Have you used Whova's web pages or other platforms like WordPress? Andrew, I'm going to turn back to you for this one first.
Yeah, so we're definitely team WordPress as well. And we like how easily it integrates with Whova. So during our events, we make sure to do the activity live stream page. We like having the speakers be able to post their own templates. We definitely have our photo wall as well, which is super popular. So we definitely use WordPress a lot. And then, yeah, going back to just using Canva, Eventbrite, and Active Campaign. But yeah, we definitely leverage WordPress every chance we get.
I'm definitely team WordPress, definitely the top choice. But we have a lot of clients that need just quick little one-off sites built. It's not super intense to learn, like a lot of the tools and plugins you need for having a really incredible WordPress site. We use a lot of microsites that you build through like the platform Weebly. very low cost. And it's really easy, just drag and drop widgets and some basic web design that work for a lot of clients. And then there are a couple other platforms that are existing for events, obviously like Whova and the pre-built web pages just save so much time. There are a couple others that we really like to recommend to our clients, like Cvent. Cvent's pretty robust. It does require a bit of training. We've got a couple team members in our office that actually are certified because we have clients that need pretty in-depth Cvent sites built. And then we also, we feel like BigMarker is also another good platform that has a pretty basic landing page design that pretty much anybody can set up. Looks pretty classy, and then it's the one-click option to access events online. So that's really a virtual and hybrid tool that a lot of our clients like to use as well.
Awesome. Those are great suggestions right off the bat from both of you. And then I also want to talk about in-person events. So obviously a lot of people are transitioning back to on-site events these days. So things like name badge tools, check-in tools have become necessary again. What tools have both of you used for those purposes? And Nicole, do you want to go ahead and start on this one?
Yeah, so for perspective, in the last 3 years, our director of live streaming events here in our office and I have either demoed and or worked with over now 130 event tech platforms. So there are plenty out there to choose from. When it comes to looking for in-person tools versus virtual or hybrid functional tools. A couple of the platforms that we just keep coming back to for those in-person events are Cvent, pretty all-encompassing as far as planning in-person and online, as well as Whova is obviously one of our big choices. There's also a couple other tools out there like Social Tables and Boomset. Those pricing structures are a little bit more intense. So sometimes they don't work for our clients, but they're definitely more geared towards successful in-person events with the name badges tools, check-in registration, things like that.
Andrew, what about you for those tools?
Yeah, so what I recommend that we've been doing is we actually have a graphic designer contractor who helps us design our name badges. And that really is a big helpful thing to do, that once you have the design template of your name badges, we use a company called PC Name Tag, and we just say, here's our design, can you make them look pretty? And then they do. And at our most recent event, though, we did have our design and we sent it out to Kinko's, I believe, and just printed it through Kinko's and just laminated it for super cheap. So it just kind of depends about your budget for your event, how you want to go about things, because PC Name Tag, there are higher quality badges, but if you want to save some money, you can just print your templates through Kinko's. And then we just got a label printer to print the names on site as well. And then, yeah, I definitely would recommend using those. And then of course, yeah, we did actually utilize the Whova name badge tool this time around for our most recent event. And that was pretty cool for people being able to come on site and scan their name and then be able to go to the app and then see the agenda, see everything going on there. So the Whova name badge template was helpful. And once we had the QR code going, and then once you combine that with PC Name Tag or Kinko's print shop, then you're good to go.
I feel like 10 years ago, the QR codes were like trying so hard and it just totally flopped. And now that they're back, I feel like we're just so much more mentally prepared for this.
Oh, yes. Well, I think honestly, I think the pandemic actually caused everyone's final acceptance to QR codes. Like everyone's like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, get this out of my face. But once the pandemic happens, everyone's like, all right, now it's time.
So we have covered a lot of software tools at this point already. But I want to ask you both, and we'll start with Nicole. Outside of Whova, what are your most useful tools that you've been using for your events? And how are you able to effectively utilize, those tools that are your favorites?
So from the production side, obviously platforms like Whova already have Zoom built in, that connection already exists. But with being a production company, we actually do a lot of either remote recording, pre-recorded content, and Zoom's just not it for that. We usually like to work through our in-house studio through a program called vMix. There's also a web-based option called Riverside FM, if anybody's interested in using that. It's a great online recording tool for high quality stuff that you can repurpose, either playing live as a recording for in-person events, or obviously having those as features on a virtual event. So, I mean, it's really, recording tools are really important no matter what type of event you're hosting. I just feel like those two are really easy to use for people that are maybe not capable of hiring a production company. Those are good options and they're great quality. Another favorite for in-person events is actually a tool that we use just for advancing slides. It's our favorite local and remote clicker. It's called OctoCue. You can use it as an app on your phone. So a presenter either can have a button that you have on site, or if it's somebody that you ran out, maybe you lost the clicker or something, there's an app you can download and manually push your slides forward. So your production team, your AV team on site does not have to do that. I would also say it's pretty great when you have remote presenters and you don't want to have to deal with mailing them a clicker back and forth. They can just sit there in their house and advance their own slides. So it's just one of those little things that we really enjoy using. Again, some of the easy to use registration like Eventbrite and Faqs, those are some of our, we keep coming back to them because they're so consistent and they do what we need it to do. Another thing that I've noticed is there's so many polling tools that exist for virtual events. But when you get into that hybrid world or that in-person world, people get left out. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves in an event is when you're hosting and you can't connect the two audiences. It's not a connection for them to feel like they are truly both being valued. It feels like one's getting left out, either the in-person or the online audience. So there's actually a website called Poll Everywhere. They have a lot of different engagement tools, but obviously it was built for polling. They have word clouds, they have different submission tools, and it's all on your mobile device. So it really is one of those tools that you can use for both types of audiences, and it's pretty low cost and it's incredibly timely and efficient to set up. So that is one of my all-time favorites when we can help clients set up some type of engagement like that.
Well, yes, I definitely like how you guys say outside of Whova, because of course want to keep giving shout outs to how much we enjoy Whova. But besides Whova, if you must know, we definitely are big fans of Zapier to help you set up automations with things and being able to trigger things going on. And then we also, of course, as we're all on here now, using Zoom. Zoom webinars and Zoom meetings is so effective still and still cheap to use and easy to use and simple. And I think we mentioned the pandemic earlier, like pretty much everyone hopefully knows how to use Zoom by now. And so it's a platform everyone understands, can get used to. And leading up to our events, we love hosting Zoom town halls where we'll have 50, 60, 100 people in a personal meeting room so we can all see each other and hang out, kind of hyping up, leading up to the event, doing some networking. And then we also host monthly training workshops too for everyone. So definitely a big advocate for that. And then as far as staying organized, we love using Slack for our team communications to help organize all the channels that way, because as Nicole and I both know, running an event is like, as they say, death by a 1,000 paper cuts. And so if you don't have all the categories of communications going, it's hard to keep track. So Slack helps us with that. And then I also personally love using the platform Trello because I'm a very visual person, being able to put things together. Apparently Nicole likes Trello as well. And of course, it goes back to use the tools that work best for you. But obviously Nicole has a lot more tool suggestions than I do, but hopefully I can keep up a little bit. But with Trello, you can definitely organize things pretty well and like mark things done and share it with others as needed. And a lot of these resources, by the way, are free to use or cheap, as Nicole mentioned. And so it definitely helps. And then also, don't forget to use social media marketing too, posting on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, MySpace, if that's still around. Find your audience and don't hesitate to still utilize social media, because that is very effective when it comes to bringing in people and hyping people up, and people around the world are tuning in all the time. And then finally, I would say for organizing, communicating with speakers and leading up to the event, using the platform Calendly. And also one of my favorite platforms where people can book time on your schedule to connect with them that way as well.
Yeah, awesome. You guys have both really already given some amazing ideas and suggestions for everyone. So We have some more questions to cover, and I'm excited. On the flip side of what I just asked you, I want to hear about the tools that you've invested in that maybe weren't so effective. So, in other words, could you both share any lessons learned or mistakes that you've made when it comes to event software? And Andrew, I'm going to turn back to you.
Yeah, so when I mentioned social media, I mean, this is a tricky one because, as you said, like we're always learning, we're always experimenting. But the first thing I put on my list was Facebook ads. And the thing about Facebook ads is like, it can work, but it also can't work. And so the way we use it is just like making sure that people are constantly aware of the event. Then of course, as we get closer to the events, we try and ramp them up as much as we can. But I'd say just, we've quote unquote lost a lot of money to Facebook ads. We've also made money to Facebook ads. So maybe that's not the answer you're looking for, but it's an answer that I have. We've also invested, it's not necessarily, I count it as a tool, but investing in PR services when you're buying media spots and various newspapers and newsletters and blogs and stuff like that, like making sure that you're not breaking your bank, thinking that, if I just put my brand in this newsletter with 50,000 subscribers, I'm going to get rich fast. Like really make sure that you make a calculated investment there. You build relationships with people. You make sure the audience is a good fit. What we've done is actually been able to do trades with various opportunities there with PR people coming in and who have newsletters and websites where a lot of our ideal audiences go into. We're able to do trades where we promote their stuff to our audience, and then they promote our stuff to their audience. And so that's always been a good relationship I highly recommend doing as well. And another thing is, just our most recent event, unfortunately, we had, could have done a better job with our AV quotes. And maybe I should have called up Nicole beforehand because we definitely overspent on AV a little bit for in-person events. So definitely make sure you're getting multiple quotes for AV in production and audio of your events, and also doing your diligent resource there, because the AV costs can really make sure you don't lose money in an event if you don't do that carefully. And so definitely make sure you do that AV properly as well.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Nicole, could you also share any learning experiences or mistakes that you've made with event software?
Yeah, so I will also quick piggyback off what Andrew said, and I saw Karen had a question in the chat. So as far as AV quotes, definitely do your research about the company before you call. We have a lot of clients that contact us and they're like, do you do weddings? And I'm like, do you see we do weddings on our website? Like, that's just not what we do. So I think a lot of times is, if you want to be efficient with your time and getting those quotes, know what company you're contacting first. And be sure you have a budget going in, because most AV companies want to work with you and they don't want you to overspend. Like, they want you to pay for what you actually need. So that's honestly like one of the things we run into a lot is we have clients that, we give them the guidance and then they don't listen to our expertise, and so they overspend. So definitely, to piggyback Andrew and to answer Karen's question, you definitely want to be cognizant of that. I would say the biggest struggle we have is explaining the validity of having backups and emergency copy to send out to clients. I will die on this hill that you have to have a backup for everything. Backup speakers, backup Zoom connections, backup slide decks, backup computers, like I said, emergency copy. So if for any reason the event platform goes down, your internet crashes, you have to have something to be able to let your attendees know what's going on and what the next steps are, because most of the time they paid to be at this event, or they at least have an investment of their time that they expect more out of their experience. They want to know what's going on. Even if you tell them, hey, we're having technical difficulties, 9 out of 10 times they'll be patient and wait and be happy to know that everything's going to be okay in the end. So I'm going to say I invest a lot of time in explaining the validity of that to our clients and saying, we're not doing this just for fun. We don't like making all these backup plans and having all these redundancies, but we're doing it in your best interest, because our event success is your event success. So it's really important to us that we have those tools in place. And we can only be as good as our clients help us to be. Obviously, it's not us that's working directly with them, it's the client. So it's really important that listen to the expertise of the event profs, but definitely have those backups and those redundancies. We have definitely had clients learn the hard way.
Yes, and speaking
Nicole.
of backups too, to piggyback off of that, another thing I wanted to mention is I also use virtual assistants for our event and virtual assistant contractors and also more event software tools. Technically, it would be a Fiverr, Upwork platforms you can get expertise on your events. And I think you have to be really careful about those too, because a lot of people think that, oh, I just hire this person, they do all the work for you. You understand it does take time to training. You have to make sure that you have built a relationship of trust. You know, I have had virtual assistants who I pay them and then they never respond to my messages ever again. I'm like, what the heck? And so make sure you have, I usually like the policy of half now, half when done. If you really want to get things going with the various virtual assistant contractor or something like that. But also, I want to put that in as well, is that making sure you're taking time to train virtual assistants, but they can save you hours and hours of time if you do it right. And so I'd recommend it if you able to create the budget for it too.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. That's really helpful. I want to make a quick reminder to our audience that we are going to be getting to our live audience portion towards the end of the session. So just make sure you're asking your questions for our speakers in that Q&A tab. That's where I'll be moderating the questions from. So ask your questions as we are going through the session today. But I do want to jump into this next question, which I think is going to be really useful for the audience. When you evaluate and choose your event software, what are your critical criteria and considerations for evaluation and why? Nicole, I'm going to turn it to you.
I'm only so helpful on this because this is how my company makes our money, but we have a pretty comprehensive list of accessibility, check-in options, engagement tools, like all of the pure basics that you would need in an event platform. It's probably 60 questions long. And anytime we demo with a company or we have a client says, hey, I want to use this platform. And then we say, okay, well, tell us about it. They usually can't about it. We have to do the research ourselves. So that's why we've done all the work, is to help our clients save that time and not have to have this insane criteria to look through. We much prefer it when our clients come to us and say, hey, we need our event to do X, Y, and Z. And we say, okay, we have, out of the 130, we have 6 that would be a good fit. Then we work backwards usually and say, okay, what's your budget? What are you willing to spend on this? What are the must-haves? What are the want-to-haves? So every client is different. There is no one-size-fits-all event software. It just doesn't exist. I can't say I have core criteria for me because I'm working with so many diverse clients. But I will always tell people, do not get caught up in the bells and whistles of a platform, because there are a lot of things on every platform that you may notice that are great, but then you also don't notice there are limitations. There are things the platforms can't do, and you need them to do that. So be aware of the platform, the software limitations, so you don't have any surprises later on during the event planning process, or God forbid, during an event. That's definitely a critical piece that I try to encourage our clients to ask about.
Awesome. And Andrew?
It comes down to simplicity and easy to use, fun to use. How can we get the community to connect with each other? So the company I work with, Podfest Expo with Chris Kamitsos, we're a very big community-based company and an events organization where if people don't feel like they're part of a community, if they don't feel welcomed, then we're doing something wrong. And so our event software has to have that, has to include it. I remember doing things bare bones, just using Zoom webinars, Zoom personal meetings, of course, integrating Whova as well, really makes it easy to be able to do that. So those are definitely very important. And then also, we also love the fact that having a platform that people can network on, that they can learn from, that they can review and take notes on. We make a lot of our money at our events in the recordings and being able to sell VIP access to recordings for people. So having a platform that makes it easy to do that. And we currently also are putting all of our recorded videos on Vimeo, so helping to just give away the Vimeo folders as well. I think something that's easy to use, community focused, lots of networking opportunities, Also a platform that it's easy to send out messages and announcements to our community, because during our Guinness World Record breaking events, it was pretty crazy. The first one we did, we were running 3 tracks at the same time from like 9 a.m. Eastern to 9 p.m., like 7 days, twice over the course of 2 weeks, 5 days a week over the course of 2 weeks. And so that being able to have an easy way to constantly communicate to our attendees saying, hey, this person got cut short, so come check us out over here, or here's a reminder, this speaker is about to speak. So those tools are definitely very crucial. And this goes back to, as long as it's easy for the event operator to use, the community to use, everyone feels connected and they're enjoying the event. That's always the most important.
Really informative from both of you, so thank you. My next question for you guys is about the tools that you haven't used before. So I know you both have used a lot, but if you could, describe 1 or 2 tools that you haven't found yet, or you wish were on the market, or maybe, a better version of a software tool that could make your work more efficient. Could you, share what that would look like? Andrew, you can go ahead and start on this one.
I can see that since Nicole's already named like 50 plus tools, maybe she knows the answers that I'm about to ask. So maybe it's good I'm going first. But, I wish there was a tool that had like pre-made email templates ready to go for marketing leading up to the event, during the event, post-event. Maybe a tool for better speaker image templates. I'd say, it'd be awesome just to have be able to scroll through a bunch of options for how to make the speakers look good leading up to your event. And obviously we have a graphic designer for that, but if there's a tool to help us, maybe like a 99 designs feature or something like that, maybe answer my own question, but I don't know anything at the top of my head. And then, a tool that had social media templates as well. I know we're in the world of AI. I think there's something called Lately, and of course there's Jarvis, all these platforms where you can just put in a couple prompts and it'll write you a 2-paragraph, sales letter, marketing letter, or something like that. So maybe I'm just not using that as good as I could so far, but I'm sure, maybe Nicole probably has all my answers, and we'll see if she struggles with anything.
Yeah, Nicole, what about you?
There is a struggle every day, so don't you worry about that, Andrew. Every client is different. There's no one size fits all. So I would say there are plenty of tools out there to help you, but what might work for one event isn't necessarily going to work for another. A couple of the biggest, hurdles we jump through is finding tools that have solid FAQs to assist attendees, especially on the virtual event side. We spend a lot of time writing FAQs for some of our favorite event platforms because there is no easy to use FAQ. There's no frequently asked questions to get that are not so incredibly technical that it overwhelms the attendee. So honestly, kudos to Whova, because Whova and BigMarker are the only 2 that we found that our clients can log in, jump in, and actually participate without feeling super overwhelmed. But again, that's part of what we do is we help write those frequently asked questions and tailor them to the events. So if all event platforms could just work a little harder on those FAQs, that'd be great. That's just a wish list item. There's just a lot of platforms that are out there that don't integrate with Zoom. They have their own native video conferencing, and they have a lot of limitations to how many people can be on screen. Can you have a chat going at the same time? There's just some limitations out there that we seem to run into quite often that we will have to find workarounds for. And then if anybody knows a reasonably priced mobile app designer, send them my way, because I feel every day I've got clients saying, hey, I want this to be a really quick, easy to use mobile app. And I'm like, that's the one thing we just don't want to do. I know that there's so many event platforms that are out there that have mobile apps, but the customization is so limited. The customers aren't getting what they want. The events don't brand the way they want them to. So if there's anybody that has a solve for that and knows a mobile app designer, I would love to meet them. So that's just another tool I wish was more readily available. So I'm definitely searching Fiverr and Upwork for those quite frequently. So
Awesome. And I want to follow up with something that you said a little bit earlier, Nicole. I know you mentioned about like the FAQs and having, access to support for your attendees. What about what do you look for in platforms? I'm sure you're yourself an expert in all the software that you use, but in terms of like the organizer side, what kind of support do you look for in an event software platform?
So a lot of the platforms that we use on a recurring basis, we do the extensive trainings, we get certified in them so we know what we're doing from the event planning side. I would say the biggest thing is there's always a quirk or a workaround I try to solve for. And one thing that I love is I just sometimes want a quick chat. I don't need somebody to call me. I don't need an email 4 hours later. I just need a quick question answered. So having a quick chat function with any platform is super important to people like me. I feel like for a while I was on a first name basis with a couple of people at Whova because I was working on an event that was an older demographic that weren't super techy, and I was just trying to find creative workarounds to brand the event and make it easier for the attendees to access. And I know, honestly, Whova was incredible helping me find those solves, because I would ask maybe what a limitation was. They would explain it to me. I would find a resolution, and then I would actually let Whova know, hey, in case anybody else wants to do this, here's something you can do. And I don't know how far that information gets, but I'd like to think if I just found something very unique or intuitive that can be shared, I would hope that eventually it either becomes an option or it at least becomes known to other people. So I spend a lot of time in social media that sharing this information and trying to help other people because honestly, there's so much that can just be quickly answered. And sometimes if it's not a chat available, social media does the work. So it's all about a Google search.
Yeah, and it comes back around, I'm sure, what goes around.
Yeah, I would hope so. So yeah, definitely quick chat is fantastic.
Yeah. All right, so we have a little bit more time here, and I have one final question. We have touched on Whova a little bit here already, but I know that you both have extensive experience with Whova, so I do want to focus on that a little bit here. What are your most useful Whova tools for your particular events? I know, Nicole, you do all kinds of events. If you want to touch on what you find useful for certain events, or however you want to kind of touch on this, what have you found to be most useful? So you can go ahead and start, Nicole.
Yeah, so I kind of talked about earlier, having that emergency copy and that quick information that needs to get sent to attendees. So I really, really appreciate the push notifications and announcements that Whova has. Honestly, we do an event every spring for the Iowa FFA organization, and they have about 5,000 attendees. So it's a matter of how can I get that message out as quickly as possible, and the push notifications are the best. Otherwise, the AV industry gets a really bad rap for being a huge energy suck. Obviously, that's what we do. So our company specifically, we try to be as green as possible, and we highly encourage our clients to. We post on our blog quite a bit as far as event tips, tricks, planning checklists, things like that. But one thing we've really focused on this last year is encouraging our clients to be more green, and having a mobile app with that agenda eliminates the paper waste. You're saving on printing costs. It's a less headache. Andrew can speak to it, less paper cuts for us event planners. So definitely the agenda is also one of my favorites, just overall. So
thank you for that. And Andrew, what about you?
Yeah, we definitely love the community section, and I like to tell people, Whova's amazing because it's like a Facebook group on steroids. And obviously, Facebook groups took over the world at one point because that's how they're able to afford doing all those Super Bowl ad commercials of Facebook groups and how amazing they were. And so the fact that the community section of Whova is so easy to connect with other people. You can relate together on topics, have a similar interests, send direct messages to each other. It's just so helpful, so amazing. So we definitely love that. And especially, obviously we discovered, and I'm sure you hear this a lot, that when people see Whova for the first time as an attendee, they're like, I don't know what's going on. And so I'd recommend if there's any event planners tuning in, and maybe this suggestion's already been told to you, but definitely recommend it, is having a tutorial video by the event organizer telling you how to use Whova and prevent that Whova overwhelm. Definitely makes a big difference so that people don't freak out whenever they see the Whova platform for the first time. But once you use it for literally 5 to 10 minutes, you're like, oh, this is awesome. This is amazing. So yeah, I'd say the community section, obviously the activity stream page is super helpful. So people can get FOMO and you want to join in on the event as they see everything that's going on live and be able to experience that. And then we do like how speakers are able to have a pre-made speaker image for their specific talk title as well. And the fact they're able to go in and change the description and description of their talk, and then be able to post it to social media with a pre-made Whova template. That part's really cool. Our speakers love it, and they always appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. My favorite feature is also the community board. So it's been actually really fun to see how much activity has been going on during this session. And even ahead of the session, I was seeing some, articles shared and things like that. So it's been exciting to see. We are just about ready to head into our live Q&A. I want to make a reminder to our participants that it's not too late. If you have questions you want to ask Andrew or Nicole, please feel free to type those into the Q&A, and I'll see if I can get to all of the questions before we run out of time. But let's just go ahead and start with our first question, which is from Karen Romero, and she asked, do you have recommendations on how to get those AV quotes? I think this was from a little bit earlier when Andrew, I think you were mentioning getting all the quotes from your AV sources. So maybe do you want to touch on that one?
Yeah, I could touch a little bit, and then and Nicole can touch on it a little bit more, because I do more virtual events, but I've only done a couple in-person events. But what I do know so far is that, like Nicole said, know exactly what you need and what you want, and then understand what your end goal outcome is. So I actually have a wedding coming up in October, and we were talking to the AV team for them, and they're like, oh yeah, the starting quote will be about $10,000. And we're like, what about this, this, and this? They said, oh, well, if you only want that, then I guess we can bring it down to $2,000. We're like, so I'd say really stress, what you absolutely need, and really make sure you read the fine print. So for our last event we just did in May, for example, we only wanted them to record one screen of the speakers speaking at our big event when we had 2,000 plus people. We had a main stage. It looked beautiful, looked amazing. But for some reason, they thought that they had to record 4 different versions of the speaker speaking. And of course, they charged us for each of those versions, even though we only wanted one. And so I'd say, just going back to, and obviously, Nicole can answer more about this, know what you want. When I say get multiple quotes, literally reach out to multiple companies and say, hey, here's what we're looking to accomplish. What's your pricing look like? And what does that include? Really make sure you do your due diligence, as they say.
And Nicole, did you want to add anything to that?
I think Andrew spoke it pretty true, but know your budget going in, because again, they'll work with you. It's just those bells and whistles. If you don't know, if you're just assuming that your AV company is going to be able to accommodate your requests, it's better to know that on the front side and know if there are any costs associated with it. Then after your event, you're like, oh, well, I wish we would have done this. It's like, if you don't tell us, we don't know. So communication and budget, those are the biggest two. And I think Andrew spoke to that very well. Thanks.
All right. Thank you both for touching on that question. Our next question is from Melissa, who asked, what resources do you provide attendees to train them on your chosen event technologies? I think you touched on this a little bit, but if there's anything you wanted to clarify or add, Nicole.
So like Andrew said, video tutorials are great. That's something that a lot of platforms already have. They're just more basic. They're not tailored to it. I'd kind of spoken earlier about having those tailored frequently asked questions. Those are a huge help. Every event's different, but if you're going to be rolling out a new event tool for an in-person event that maybe this is the 5th year of the event, but it's the first year you're using it, having people on site to train that type of technology is great. Just right at the registration table, getting them so before they actually participate and they get too deep, they know what they're doing. Because a lot of times people get frustrated and they'll check out. They'll never touch it again. So trying to catch that interest right in the beginning is perfect. And just providing as much information as possible. Obviously, no matter what, you're never going to have an event where somebody doesn't ask a question. That just doesn't exist. Somebody's always going to have a question. So just having those answers readily available, or if you don't know, having a resource like the quick chat or something to have a second person to back you up is fantastic.
Tutorials, another resource we forgot to mention was Loom, LOOM.com. They're another free resource where you can record like your whole computer screen super easily and then be able to post it. And then we also create video recordings and upload it to YouTube, and some people have YouTube link as well, because a lot of people know how to use YouTube. But that's another couple of resources to use for teaching your attendees how to use the event softwares. Yeah, Loom and YouTube.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Our next question is also from Karen, and she asked, are there any trainings live or online for newbies in event planning that you would recommend? So just, I guess, people who are new to the event space looking for trainings. Does anyone want to jump in on that one if you have any ideas?
Go for it, if you have anything. I have a couple. But
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I know if anybody's ever been to I don't know how to pronounce it, Udemy, like Academy, but Udemy, UDEMY, udemy.com. They have event planning courses on there, and they range from like $5 to like hundreds of dollars. And you can actually like see who the presenter is, and you can research them beforehand, so you kind of get an idea maybe what type of events they plan before you pay for the course. There are also quite a few on LinkedIn. I mean, a lot of people, like their companies or their organizations, will sponsor them to get their certified meeting planner certifications and project management certifications, and that's always great. But I mean, you can learn a lot online too for way less money and way less time. So I don't know. Those are just two resources I would say are useful.
Awesome.
Yes.
Andrew, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I'm not on the Whova at the moment. I'm just in Zoom. So I'm gonna do a shameless self-plug. I actually made a checklist for event planners. And so, yeah, if you get the checklist online, yes. Yeah, if you can put that in the Whova chat, that'd be awesome. So hopefully that helps you out, Karen. Just give you a quick little checklist of things to know about. And yeah, definitely agree with Nicole. Check out Udemy, check out LinkedIn. YouTube is an amazing master course, can tell you all the things you know. I've learned so much from YouTube. And yeah, you know, it's just kind of like, it really is just like driving a car, riding a bike, or learning a new language or instrument. At the beginning, you're like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. What do I do? What do I do? But then once you do one, you're like, oh, look at me. I actually know what I'm talking about a little bit now. But I'd say don't let the fear of doing an event hold you back from doing an event, because once you get an event under your feet per se, like your confidence will just shoot through the roof. But don't feel like you need to, you know, train for 3 more years to put an event on either. Like, just make it happen, get it done. Yeah, the guy I work with, Chris Commitsos, he wrote a book called Start Ugly, and that's the quote he always says, just get going, and then as you get going, you'll get more confident, get better, get more skilled. You can reach out to me, Marisa, Nicole as a resource as well. We're happy to help. At least I am. Not sure about Nicole, but I'm just kidding. Nicole, she's cool. But the answer is yeah. Also, yeah, I'm just also understanding. I think Karen's the one who answered the question, right, or asked the question. But yeah, early in my event planning and operations is like, so many people are able to help all the time. It's everyone's just so nice in this industry. So just being okay, asking for help, living on your own, and then just getting that first event under you is so crucial.
Thank you, Andrew. That was very inspirational. I appreciate it.
Got you.
We do have one long question from Felicia. So I'm going to read it slow. For email marketing, we have found that Apple is blocking our images. And so starting an email with images, GIFs, videos, logos, etc., it shows the reader a blank box and our click rate goes down. Have you found this to be the case in your emails as well? And do you have a recommendation for a workaround for these email marketing issues?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would ask about when they started introducing emails and GIFs, because we've had it part of our branding for a long time. That, you know, when you subscribe to our email, you're going to receive a GIF. Like, it's literally in the welcome sequence. Like, there's like our first GIF is like a little girl with her sunglasses on, you know, not swerving, but gliding or drifting on a car. And it's like, deal with it. Like, this is like what we do. So I haven't heard about Apple blocking images and GIFs. Like I know there are settings in certain people's emails where like they can make it so they never see images ever. So I'd say it goes back to your branding and just encouraging people to figure out how to open their images and GIFs. And also in our active campaign, it's probably the same for Mailchimp, is that usually it tells you if your email is more likely to go to spam or not. And so it will say, hey, make sure you adjust this so it's less likely to go to spam. Also making sure that people do the double opt-in where they subscribe to your email and then say, confirm your email address to make sure it's real, blah, blah, blah. So those are some solutions I can think about, but yeah, I'd say it goes back to what's your branding, how long you've been emailing for, what your email list looks like, and just see if you can find any patterns.
Awesome. And then what was that did you want me to take that in the chat or in the Q&A, that email marketing tool that you use? Was it
the active campaign one?
Active campaign. Okay, I'll take that in there.
I don't know, Andrew, I don't know how much your clients are doing this or you're doing this for your events, but one of the biggest things in this current world is providing accessibility for attendees. And accessibility even goes into your emails. So we're spending time writing alt tags for every graphic that we put into our emails. I don't know how we're putting GIFs in. Our clients that get our emails wouldn't care about GIFs so much, but alt tags are really important, because if for any reason those graphics are blocked, it will at least say like graphic or video of girls skating on skateboard or something to at least know that there's something there. And a lot of times that'll prompt them to find the button at the top of their email that says show images. I mean, it's that simple, but because of people's security, email marketing can get tricky. Yeah. There's a lot of event platforms we use that we have to spend a lot of time whitelisting emails or letting people know, like, hey, if you did not receive your confirmation email with your link to join, you need to contact our tech support team to get your link, because we don't know you didn't get it if we don't know. Right. So it's a constant challenge, but having that tech support in place is really important.
What's an alt tag out of curiosity?
It's the visual description of any graphic. So your best practice is to have a description of that graphic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
really interesting piece.
Check that out.
To think about.
Yeah, I'm a huge nerd about accessibility. I just wrote a huge blog on it on our website. So if anybody has anything about accessibility at events, I'm your girl.
Yeah, so we actually learned the importance of that too, is because accessibility, as Marisa did we're on Zoom right now. I think we're live streaming to both YouTube and Whova at the moment. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're doing
so
YouTube live.
She turned the transcriptions on and the captions on so that people who are hard of hearing, they can just read the captions of what we're saying, and we highly recommend that. And we're fortunate that Zoom has actually added that feature. So definitely make sure you turn that live transcription on, and people have the opportunity to turn it off or on if they want to or not. There's also other great platforms too that also can translate your language to other languages in real time too. I forget what the platform or website is that does that, but that was really cool when I saw that. So the answer is, yeah, we're definitely big advocates for accessibility as well, and encourage you to turn transcriptions on. And I'll have to check out that alt tag, Nicole. That sounds good too.
I have a lot of clients too that unfortunately, they're just not willing to pay for closed captioning. A lot of the colleges and universities we work with, they require open captions, not closed captions, open captions that are essentially burned into the videos and burned into the presentation. One thing that I love to encourage clients is if you can't afford or you can't justify spending on a closed captioning tool, or even hiring a closed captioner, if you're encouraging your attendees to use Google Chrome has that new live caption function. So like I could turn it on right now and everything that I'm saying will be live captioned in real time. It's very useful, and it's a free tool for clients to use. So highly recommend using Google Chrome as your browser and using live caption.
That's really important. All those free tools that you guys have given everyone are super helpful throughout the session. I want to ask either of you or both of you any final pieces of advice. You've given us tons so far, but if you have any final thoughts or tips for the participants before we start to log off here. Andrew, I'll give you the opportunity first, and then if Nicole, you want to wrap up too.
I'd say it goes back to keep things simple as much as you can. Don't overcomplicate, tools and contractors and stuff. Like, do your best to keep things simple, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Make sure you're hitting deadlines, and let's see, I guess just keep having an attitude of growth. Just keep having a positive attitude and understand that, as they say, fires will happen. Do your best, keep things simple, keep things within your budget, and then just keep working on getting better and know that people are always here to help. So that's what I'd say about that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Andrew. Nicole?
I'd like to compliment that is save your time. Find people that know what you don't need to know. If you have the right partners and have the right people in your corner, you're going to save a lot of time, a lot of energy. Honestly, it sometimes seems scary to spend money on something that you could do yourself, but it's the opportunity cost. What is your time worth? And is it really worth maybe DIYing yourself into disaster? No, it's definitely having the right people in your corner and having the right resources is the best thing you could do, technology related or not. That's just my overall advice.
I appreciate that. Thank you guys both. I am going to just start wrapping up. We're a few minutes before the hour mark. I just want to thank Nicole, Andrew. Thank you for your time. This was fantastic. And I really can't thank you enough for joining our panel today and sharing such amazing insights with all of our participants. And I also want to thank our participants for joining the session today and for asking great questions and engaging with our speakers. It was really fun for me to be a part of this and a pleasure to host all of you. I do have a couple of announcements before we do log off. This session was recorded, so I just wanted to let you all know that we will be making an announcement in the next few days about when that recording is going to be available. So I will send that announcement out to all of you who attended today, but just keep in mind that it will be uploaded back into the session. So via that same link that you joined the session this morning or today. And then with that, the event will be open for the next few weeks. So you can also come back in at any time to look back through the chat, back through the Q&A, and find those links that we've shared here. Or if you want to keep engaging with some of the fellow participants from today, feel free to join back in and check out some resources. But other than that, again, thank you, Andrew, thank you, Nicole, and thank you to all of our participants for joining today. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you found this panel helpful, subscribe to our channel to find more videos just like this. You can check out the other topics we have featured in the Event Insider series and more content for event planners. See you next time.